Thank you for your patience. We're convening the Committee on Energy and Intergovernmental Affairs on this Thursday, April 3rd at 3 o'clock in room 016. This hearing is being streamed live on YouTube. If we have any kind of technical difficulties, we will post a public notice as to when we will reconvene. We ask that those who are going to testify, limit your testimony to 1 minute. Members, we have two HCRs on the agenda. The first being HCR 33, requesting the Postmaster General of the United States Postal Service to relocate the Pearl City Post Office to the United States Navy property on the Pearl City Peninsula. For our testifiers, we have Larry Verret.
Good afternoon, Chair Wakai and Vice Chair Chang and committee members. I'm Larry Verret. I'm chair of the Pearl City Neighborhood Board. I'm providing testimony for our board as a whole. We have a resolution that we stated our requirements in regard to moving the Pearl City Post Office from its present position on Kamehameha Highway and Acacia Road to Navy property. We've had a really bad traffic issue for that area, but most importantly, we're concerned about safety. The small driveway that comes out of the Pearl City Post Office is very narrow. And we really think with our creative idea of moving this post office, it allows a lot of opportunities for changes to that intersection, especially for all westbound traffic. And what we're looking at is a cut through to get to Walmart on the westbound lane, right lane, also having a permanent right lane to ease the traffic. And the other thing too is with transit-oriented development, we hope that there will be a good area for the post office to be at that location. There's plenty of room for the move. That's all.
Great, thank you.
And thank you very much.
Sure.
And we're strong support HCR 33.
Got it. We have Lena Ala Baitlan might be joining us via Zoom. Welcome.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. My name is Lena Ala Baitlan, and I am here to testify my support of HCR 33. Over the past decades, the congestion in that area of Kamehameha Highway and Acacia Road fronting the post office has become very heavily congested with traffic. I go to the post office at least once a week to bring my daughter to check her PO box for her packages and mail. And there have been more than a few incidents of us almost getting into accidents from cars speeding up to go to Walmart or the shopping center up there. So I believe by moving the Pearl City Post Office to the Pearl City Peninsula will offer convenience and safety for all of its users. I appreciate the opportunity to testify on HCR 33. Mahalo.
Thank you for your commentary. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on HCR 33? If not, any questions for Mr. Verret or Lena Ala? Okay, none. We're going to move on to the next item on this agenda, that is House Concurrent Resolution 157, establishing a task force for speed, simplifying permitting for enhanced economic development, to identify actions needed to expedite, facilitate, and coordinate state and intergovernmental permitting processes. On our testifiers list, we have Jimmy Tokioka or his representative.
Share. Stands on his testimony.
Thank you, Dean. Leo Asuncion.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members. The Commission stands on its written testimony in support of this resolution, and we're available for comments. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Dean Minakami from HHFDC has submitted testimony in support. Dan Orendenker has submitted commentary. And Ted Kafalis has submitted testimony in support. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on HCR 157? If not, members, any questions? Oh, yes.
Thank you. Dean, so, what does the can't they already meet with individuals to figure out how to expedite and facilitate the state intergovernment permit process, or we need a reso to do that?
So the reso brings a little bit more detail to, I think, what the concept was. Still, I think with the resolution, and bringing the interested parties together, can start to discuss potential projects. There is a current section in DBED that allows for facilitated permitting process, but to our research, no project was ever executed, and that was mainly done just under a DBED chapter. This may look at ways of doing projects not only at the commercial scale, but maybe even the local level of housing, which would require county and state to come to the table. To your point, could it be called without? I don't see why not, but we wouldn't know what projects would be on the table that would require that type of permit discussion yet.
So the present level, the challenge you've been having at Maui County is, at one point, emergency proclamation to expedite some of the permits and the process. What would prevent them to trying to do that now? In having the group work together, realizing that we've always had this problem of kicking the ball to permitting on DLNR stuff, permitting on other stuffs. What would be the purpose of this, and then how many times would this group meet to have that discussion?
I wouldn't know the schedule. That would be flushed out once the working group is established, and they would come up with the schedule. Regarding proclamations, those, my experience and seeing how they're utilized is at a point in time to address a crisis, emergency, or some urgent situation. And those searches, in that circumstance, the governor did declare housing was a state of emergency, I think, for lack of a better term. But again, going back to the intent, it's not clear what projects yet, but we would support collectively. I mean, several of our own programs submitted, and they are part of the planning process.
So this would be on Zoom meeting, or people would fly in to do it, and who would pay for them? If they had to fly in?
I wouldn't know under the working group if they would want to do it hybrid, Zoom, or in person. That I wouldn't be able to speculate at this point in time.
I noticed there's a representative from each of the offices of the congressional delegation. What would the congressional delegation bring to the table? Federal permits, or?
That I would not know. This is not a admin reso, so I'm not sure behind the author what their intent was in bringing the congressional delegation to the table. Sorry about that.
You think the reso viable to help
It could
move
be.
things faster, or?
It could identify, if we get down to specific examples of projects, it definitely would. You would start to understand at this point in time, maybe what policies are out of date and where we need to move forward. We do have I'll speak to some land uses and housing development, we do have a one size fits all approach. No matter what your vision is, depending on the zoning, it'll give you the same product. There could be an opportunity if you're talking about residential with this, for what would form-based zoning look like? Project defines the zoning. Same with the commercial and industrial spaces.
How much normally one study like this costs if we have to?
When DBED's asked to do studies, and we engage with our research economic analysis division, it's usually about $250,000 to 250,000 to do studies.
To today, we've never done one like this before.
Not on, if this is linked to the facilitated permitting process under DBED, not to our knowledge. We couldn't find any research or project done before, so not even a study or report.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Just a follow-up question to that. In terms of the potential cost, since this is really an initiative put forth by the House, and that the House would be the one chairing this committee, and couldn't any cost be just, okay, House, you pay for it, right? So if we have to fly in someone from Molokai or whatever, then Speaker Nakamura can figure out how she's going to pay for all of that, right? Because they're the ones in charge of this.
I cannot, sorry, that I couldn't answer how the funding appropriations work within the own chambers, and how they would spend, but I have seen in some resolutions this session and testimony, where testimony asks for costs to be inserted into the budget. So like, for example, HB 300 to execute, if there's any travel costs or costs to execute this reso. It could be that way, but.
Yeah, well, I think if it's a House initiated effort, then they should pay for all the costs. So anyway, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further questions? If not, the members don't mind, we'll just move straight into decision making.
Thank you.
For the first measure, HCR 33, to see if we could potentially move the post office in Pearl City for traffic calming and safety reasons to Navy property. We passed a similar Senate version of this out a couple of weeks ago. So I'd like to pass this HCR 33 as is. Any discussion? If not, Senator Chang, I vote yes.
Here's recommendation for HCR 33 is to pass unamended. Chair votes aye, Vice Chair votes aye, Senator Coit,
I,
Senator Richards.
Aye.
Senator Favela is excused. The recommendation is adopted.
Okay. On HCR 157, this is to have a kind of a speedy a task force focused on speedy permitting and regulatory solutions. I appreciate the commentary by Senator Coit about who's going to pay for this. But as mentioned, since this is really a House initiative, maybe the House will be the one that will take it out of their budget to pay for any kind of expenses associated with this effort. But we also passed a similar Senate resolution on this particular measure. So I'd like to pass this measure out as is. Any discussion? If not, Senator Chang, I vote yes.
Here's recommendation for HCR 157 is to pass unamended. Of the members present, are there any objections or reservations? Seeing none, the recommendation is adopted.
Great. Thank you, everyone. We're adjourned.